You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So the Oklahoma Sooners were the talk of the town, along with Texas. I'll give them their due there. Everybody wanted to ask what these coaches and players felt about the Oklahoma Sooners and the Texas Longhorns coming in. What were some of the big quotes of the day that you heard when you were milling around?
Yeah, Brian Kelly, from Brian Kelly to Lane Kiffin all the way to Clark Lee, they all basically kind of echoed the same thing, right? That Oklahoma and Texas coming in are both big historic brands. They have strong traditions, and they're going to be a great, asset to the conference, right? They're going to bring additional competition, right? And I had to say, I was impressed at hearing it basically echoed by everybody. You would think that like a corporate memo was handed out to each one of them and say, hey, just read these lines word for word, bar for bar. And they all did it. But at the same time, Greg Sankey said the exact same thing when he was up there talking about it too. So you heard the praise of each team. And it's funny because Shane Beamer was asked, of course, former Oklahoma coach, he talked about how he left Georgia after Oklahoma lost to them in the Rose Bowl. Gosh, it's just painful even talking about it. But he was a coach at Georgia at that time, and then he came over and worked underneath Lincoln Riley and that regime here at Oklahoma. And he talked about the big difference that Oklahoma's going to see coming into the SEC. And for him, the big thing is like, Oklahoma's, a big brand. They got everything. They got the history. They got all the culture and everything. The big thing is they're going to deal with a lot of big bodies week after week. And if they're prepared for that, they'll be just fine. And so, Shane gave that love there. Brian Kelly, praised just the history of the teams. He's played at Oklahoma when he was at Notre Dame. He's been in Norman, so he knows the crowd can get crazy whenever they need to. So he's like, yeah, I think Oklahoma's built themselves to the point, in years past, they've been prepared for the type of crowd you're going to have in the SEC. But the other thing that Shane Beamer pointed out that some of the coaches kind of echoed was be prepared to be infiltrated. And what I mean is when those teams come to visit, they fans travel, right? This isn't like playing against, an Arkansas State where you may see like a pepper of 2 or 3 family members in town. No, you're going to see lunatic fans in your stadium watching these games, right? You're going to have South Carolina people travel over to this side of town. If they don't live in Norman already or in the area in Oklahoma in general, they're going to be there, right? You're going to see even crazy fans from Tennessee. We saw that they traveled when they came back in, 17 and 16. We saw that they traveled. You're going to see a lot more of that creamsicle orange coming into town. And so it was the big thing of reminding everybody that when you're in SEC, there's a reason why they call it big boy football. Not to say that, Oklahoma and Texas, they never played against anybody. But get used to that week after week. And I think, to me, the infiltration is going to be a really big difference for us as fans. So make sure y'all get out there and tailgate, because I heard there was some tailgate news that came out too.
Yeah, so they're expanding the tailgate situation there on campus greatly. I wrote a story about it over at Sooners Wire. Oklahoma Athletic Department released all the details over there at Soonersports.com that you can go check that out as well. But that's a big deal that the tailgate situation is expanding. They've heard from the fan base. They've heard from, those who went on kind of research trips to SEC towns over the last couple of falls to get Norman and get the University of Oklahoma SEC ready from a game day perspective. Now let's see if they can execute that. I thought one thing that you mentioned was really intriguing. Greg Sankey talked about how when Kentucky played in College Station, they had 10,000 fans make the trip to College Station. That's Kentucky. That's really impressive. So if anything else, like the Norman economy is going to get a big boost because of SEC fans coming to town. The hotel situation, if you're planning on going to games in Norman from out of town, you might want to get your hotel situation wrapped up if you haven't already. That might be a big deal. But it's going to be really, really exciting. You want to touch on the Harold Perkins quote unquote drama from the day when he was asked about Danny Stutsman? He said, who?
I thought that was
Guardians of the Galaxy moment there.
Yeah, it was definitely that. It was a turn of the who Star-Lord, man. International guys. It was great because I mean, and it was very genuine on too. I listened to Harold Perkins and all of his interview or whatnot when I stood over there, and he truly is one of those guys that focuses specifically on the task at hand, what's in front of him. And I got why he said he didn't know who Danny Stutsman was. One, he's never had to play against him. Two, he'll never actually play against them technically because they both play defense. Like, why would Harold Perkins ever see Danny Stutsman tape? They're not going to line up against each other. I would totally understand if Grant Nussmeier had said that he had never heard of maybe Danny Stutsman or somebody on the defensive side. I could totally understand that. They're starting to prepare for them now. But if Harold Perkins said he never heard of Jackson Arnold, oh yeah, I would have lost my mind. I'd be like, oh, really, bro? That's what you're doing? We're doing that today? Okay. Right. Noted. But no, there was no reason for Harold Perkins to truly know about Danny Stutsman. So I thought it was funny. I mean, it's kind of funny gag. I think that added nicely to the Jackson Arnold one, So I interviewed Jackson Arnold for a little bit. I went over to his section, asked him a question about him and Billy Bowman and how they were going. Jackson Dart, not Arnold. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said Arnold. Well, Jackson's, that's why. But anyway, asked Jackson Dart about the tweet that he was going back and forth with Billy Bowman. And of course, he got a kick out of it. And he's like, yeah, just trolling, just trolling back and forth. And I know that he's a great guy, great in the secondary. And I'm looking forward to playing against Oklahoma. Gave the standard, coach speak, PR perfect answer to the question. But at the same time, they see that stuff. And I love the fact that Jackson Dart was there to have fun with it. He wanted to play around with it. And when he smiled and laughed, he's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And so he's looking forward to playing against Jackson Arnold. They became good friends at the Manning camp or whatnot because, they were all there together. And so, yeah, it was good hearing that Harold Perkins is exactly as he's advertised. He cares about football and his game, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, why would you be paying attention to Big 12 football unless you're playing Big 12 teams? And as you mentioned, he's not going to ever play against Danny Stutsman. And Harold, I know guys will watch guys that play similar positions, but Harold Perkins plays more, I think, linebacker edge hybrid type of a player.
Jack type,
and like a true Mike. And so the games aren't necessarily equivalent. I had one guy say, he's not going to know who one of the top 5 linebackers or not top 5 players at his position is. I was like, maybe not. Not everybody lives and breathes this stuff every single day, especially for a student athlete, when that's all you have to do all day is you're focusing on improving your game. You're not worried about what's happening in Oklahoma, USC, Michigan, Notre Dame. No, you're just preparing for your season and preparing for the opponents you're going to play. You're more concerned about, okay, who's the quarterback next on the schedule? Or who are the guys that I have to pay attention to this year? What are the offensive tackles I'm going to have to go up against when I'm called on to blitz off the edge? That kind of stuff. The stuff that's like within your job description, basically. It's like,
or model their game against. He wants to model his game against a pro, right? That's usually the position that makes the most sense, right? Why would you model your game after somebody that's in college with you? Why not against a professional athlete? Because that's your next goal.
Yeah, no doubt.
And hey, Jay's going to have more from SEC Media Days on Tuesday as the Oklahoma Sooners get to the podium. Jackson Arnold, Danny Stutsman, Billy Bowman, Brent Venables will all speak as well. So he'll have reaction. We'll all have reaction to that on our next episode of Locked On Sooners. So make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you're an everydayer and you're still with us here in the deep in the third segment, you might want to go check out the Locked On Sooners Insider Program. You can subscribe to that by texting SEC 2024 to get 25% off your first month to 405-817-6711. Again, text SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711 to get 25% off your first month. We'll do prospect breakdowns. Jay will have some exclusive video that we'll throw into that little folder there for you, file you can get in on Q&A sessions. I already had somebody ask me a question about who is the hype man for Oklahoma football because he's got an idea for him. Well, I was like, well, that's probably Danny Stutsman, so you could probably reach out to him if you got some ideas. But hey, get direct one-on-one conversation with us over there at the Locked On Sooners Insider Program, again, by texting SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711 to get 25% off your first month. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams.
We'll catch you next time. Boomer
Sooners.
Passion, drive, and patience. What defines the SEC is also what keeps your ride or die alive. That is the formula for winning championships. Over at eBay Motors, they've got everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.